Hello and welcome. I have realized that I don't really introduce myself at the beginning of videos, so I think this one I'm going to. So, my name is Renee, aka Curly. I live full time in my 2016 Dodge Grand Caravan, and I travel and adventure throughout British Columbia and, well, hopefully beyond one day. And well, by living this lifestyle, I've created a pretty unique life. And well, my travels and adventures have brought me to Sandon, British Columbia, where I'm house sitting a ghost city. Hard to believe that this is what it once looked like. The day I'm recording this is May 4th, 2025. And today marks a historical day in Sandon. It was 125 years ago in the early morning hours that the city of Sandon burnt to the ground. And, well, come to think of it, last night I woke up with such a startle. It was at 2 o'clock in the morning. And, well, I had this interesting energy kind of running through me. Could it have been an imprint from that fire that night? I do not know, but I thought that was kind of interesting, considering I've been sleeping so good these last couple weeks, and all of a sudden, boom, I'm being startled awake at 2 o'clock in the morning. Yeah, I thought that was interesting. Pretty much across the creek from where we are now is what the view of Sandon looked like before 1900. Oh yes, Sandon's got quite the story. So right now we are walking on the CPR rail grade. So what ended up happening with the fire, because it kind of got out of control with all the buildings being wood, they ended up blowing up the CPR rail station to create a fire break. And well, that helped to save what remains of 3 buildings that were pre-fire days. And we're heading up there right now because one of those buildings is a little job I have to do in there. I've never noticed this before. A couple old rails, maybe original rail ties. There's another one right up there. It's usually pretty overgrown by the time I get up here. I don't walk this little path very often either, I have to admit. There's also camping up here. You do get free firewood. This is a perfect spot for groups. I think you could fit, like, I don't know, 10 trailers for sure. The CPR rail station was located roughly in this area. There's the CPR rail station, and notice the signpost here? And there's the signpost, but no more train station. And as I said, they blew that up to protect these buildings up here. So we have the power generating station there, which we're heading to. That was a residential house. And this here was a liquor warehouse. And that was owned by the K&S, which was the other train line that ran into Sandon. So yeah, no competition going on there, right? And at the time of the fire, there was also a union strike going on. So did they blow up the train station as a fire break? Or was it a way to get back to one of the train companies? Because that's where the issue was laying. We'll never know. My job here is to take daily readings off of the instruments, both the old and the new, and record them. So I'm checking the kilowatts, the watts, temperatures, and such. The gauge here is telling me how much water pressure is coming down into the powerhouse. We can't forget to oil the brains of this whole entire operation at the governor. So pretty much this is how it goes. The water comes into the power plant. It pushes into the pelting cups, which gets the whole wheel spinning, which creates the whole spinning action until it hits the Tesla generator, and therefore it creates electricity, and then it continues on through, and that water just flows right on out underneath. And well, that residential house there that survived the fire, well, it has been known to be haunted. There have been some reports from people, visitors in particular, who have seen a male apparition in the window. And well, when the ghost hunters come up here, it seems to be one of the places they're attracted to go and check out. So this is Sandon Creek going up here. And this used to be a sawmill right in this area. That's some of the leftover wood from its time. We got a picture of it. It once belonged to George Levette. A closer view of the layers of wood. I'm up on top of that old mill wood stack. It's a pretty squishy. Couple old tram cars. I'm gonna take it it's from the Slocan Star Mine, which was the one that ran up this creek, where also the biggest piece of galena was ever discovered. Check this out. That piece right there weighed in at 125 tons. And the Slocan Star Mine was also the wealthiest mine of all of them in Sandon in its time. We are up above the powerhouse right now. All this behind me was called Capitol Hill. It was all dotted once with a bunch of little cabins. There's the sawmill again in the foreground with the cabins up above it. We do have a good view of once was the city of Sandon. Now, can you believe that it only took 60 days to build the new city of Sandon? Now, granted, it wasn't nearly as big as the first city, and, well, they learned a few things. Or did they? One of the things they did learn was not to build the buildings so close together. But did they really learn on the second thing by building a boardwalk through the city itself? This is a good picture of the boardwalk. As you can see, it's running through the city. Right there would be the flume where the creek is running under, and this would be a sidewalk. Obviously, they're replacing a section. And you can still find some old remnants from past times. Some sheet metal there. Oh, this is pretty cool looking. Looks like a ferny type of moss. That's pretty neat. And, well, this here is usually where I call home for at least 6 months. Might as well let the cat out of the bag. I will be working here for yet another season in Sandon. I actually start next week. I'm pretty excited. This is my 3rd season here. So not only am I one of the workers, I'm also one of the family members here too. Hence why I'm here Sandon sitting, house sitting a ghost city. That boardwalk I was talking about that they built through the city, well, this is what remains of it. Back in 1955, they had a substantial amount of snow that came down that year, and, well, that led to a heavy-duty freshet, and nobody was taking care of what was going on underneath that boardwalk in the flume. And needless to say, the water had to get through, and it took out the boardwalk. So this is one of our creekside, more private camp spots, just because the trees got electricity in here. And then there's another one just over here, and you'll see all kinds of remnants and stuff too in here. And then here's the other one with an outhouse close by. But what is cool is a story about this fire ring. So last year, some campers decided to move the fire ring, and I got closer to that little pile there. And that's just some like old wood and logs and stuff like that that have rotted. Well, they end up hearing a pop, and it caught their attention that that little pile was on fire. So they're digging to put the fire out, and they end up finding a whole bunch of old light bulbs. So here's a clip of a video that I made of those light bulbs, because I just think they're so cool. I want to share it. And what's unique about them is how old they are. So on the bottom here, you can see that it is ceramic. These were done before 1901, because that is when they decided to change to glass bottoms. So these are like pre-1901 light bulbs. Pretty freaking amazing. I like the fact they're hand blown, so you can see there's a bit of a nipple here at the top. And the filaments, unfortunately, I don't think you can get a good view on the video, but they're pretty cool. These are 110 volt DC, so it was before it was converted to AC. So if you don't know what DC is direct current, and AC is alternating current through electricity. And what was awesome about these finds, after testing several of them, there were a couple that still worked. So we'll just turn this on. And there you go. And there's a lot of heat that's coming off this. Not that you get to feel it, but trust me on it. And then we have a great collection here of different size bulbs. And this one even has a date on it. Looks like a 3/27/99. And that would be 1899. And yes, you can charge your electrical vehicle here for free. You just need to bring your adapter. Okay, so are you wondering at all if I have had any ghostly experiences? Well, as a matter of fact, I have. One of the seasons I used to camp right here by this creek, which is also the site where the opera house was, where the fire started. Anyways, at nighttime, every so often, I would hear music playing. And it sounded more like a jazzy type band that was playing music. So I shared that with my sister, and she said, oh, well, that's what the opera house was. And I'm like, okay, so there's a bit of an imprint there with the music anyways. They also did a music festival here for a couple years. Anyways, one particular year, one of the band members was setting up, and he had seen about 5 or 6 people wandering in period costume around the property here. And he thought, oh, I'm going to go and see them when I'm done setting up. Well, then he started asking around on where they went, but nobody had seen them. So was that an apparition of a group of people that were heading to the opera house? Because the bandstand was right beside it. Now, are there ghosts in the city hall? Well, it is believed there is one named Scotty. So one of the incidences that happened was with this piano here. You know, those old player pianos. Well, there's a little section right underneath here, which is located under the keys. And well, this piece right here just fell down when I walked into the room. Like, how did that just fall down? You can tell it's pretty stiff going in and out. I don't know. Was that the ghost of Scotty? I thought it was pretty interesting. And this phone, yes, it still works, just reminded me of another story. It was the night before my birthday, and I was giving my sister a massage. Now, I do play music through my phone because we do have Wi-Fi here, thanks to Starlink, of course. Anyways, I had noticed a text message coming through. Now, that was odd to me because there's no cell service up here. So how did the message get through? Well, the next day, I was sharing the story with somebody who was visiting, and they're like, well, you have Wi-Fi calling on your phone. Like, what are you talking about? He says, well, yeah, you probably got hooked up. And I'm like, not to my knowledge. Can you show me how to do it? So anyways, we go and look through it. And he's like, oh, never mind. It wasn't even turned on. And I'm like, yeah, I've never even heard of Wi-Fi calling before. So how did that message come through my phone? Still a mystery. But it was a great message because it was somebody who was telling me how I have influenced them in their life. So that was a great birthday present for me. And then you have what makes Sandon so unique, the vintage Gurl trolley buses. So as you can tell, the family is very much about preserving and maintaining the history of British Columbia by putting all their efforts into Sandon, but they're also about the history of Canada. These Gurl trolleys ran for many years throughout Canada. There was 15 cities in total. And there happens to be 15 buses here. Most of them are from the Vancouver fleet. And you'd be surprised how many people come to Sandon just for the buses. They don't even realize they're coming into a ghost town. Besides monitoring the powerhouse, my other job here is to measure accumulation of whether snow or rain. So this is the board where we measure the snow, and it's seen a lot of snow in its lifetime. So yeah, just grab a ruler and put it up on top there, and of course measure the snow that way. But you can tell, no snow here. And then we have the rain measuring station. And well, it's pretty self-explanatory. The rain falls in there and we just measure from that. And of course, we also record the temperature. It's getting nice and toasty. And I tell you, it got cold last night, I guess, so we can have a nice sunny day today. I like coming up here because I always seem to get a second spring, because spring's already happened on the island and was finished by the time I left, and then I arrive here and spring's just starting. But I have one more job that I have to do while I'm here, and it's because of freshet. So May 1st they start recording the creek levels, so I have to record it twice a day and report back to my sister. I guess I'll leave this here, and I thank you very much for joining me. And if you find yourself up in the Sandon area, come on up and say hi. And if you want to meet me personally, I work Thursday through to Monday. And our season starts May long weekend, and we stay open until Canada Day, Thanksgiving. I thank you for watching. Until next time, bye-bye.